Today, I want to talk about a topic that I get asked a lot, and it's about why we close the three chakras. Why do we want to control them? Is it necessary to do so? And how does it help us in meditation? So, this is an incredibly important topic because it's a complex topic that really involves a deep understanding of what we are as humans and the power of creation that we have within us, which is encoded within our DNA. What the chakra system is an interconnected, we tend to think of it as an isolated system, but in fact, it's actually the motor of creation, and it's interconnected, what we call reality, like a simulation, something like a hologram that is actually playing a tremendous role in how we're engaging in our environment on a bigger scale. Whether it's with our families, friends, in our society, and really just the entire structure of society is built on an understanding of how we process information, how our brain processes information, how that brain is interconnected and intercommunicating with all the other non-physical systems in the body, which have a much larger stake in the co-creation process of all the experiences that we have. Our chakra system, we tend to think of it as something isolated, something separate from our environment, maybe even something separate from ourselves. But the deeper I look into the multidimensional body, our chakra system is actually an enmeshed communication system. It's a creation system with the environment that we live in. Think of each one of the chakras as more of a portal or a vortex that allows you to enter into the consciousness of the different dimensional timelines that we have access to. Each one of the chakras, starting in the root and going up until the 13th, and we have many, many chakras in our system that we are probably in mainstream not familiar with, but there are nodes of energy within the body that become vortices. That's the design of all natural expression of life. In our universe, everything is moving in a spiral motion in order to create, in order to move. And through this spiral movement and an oscillation of the particles that make up these objects, these organisms, is how we are interconnected. There is created a system, a network of communication. And we see this in the body within the cells and how they communicate to one another, and how neurologically messages are sent electrically from the brain down into the body. But we also experience this on a greater scale collectively as a human race, with individual humans intercommunicating with one another through telepathy. And actually, that intercommunication that we have between mother and daughter, between partnerships, over extended times of bonding, we have the ability of assimilating and connecting our energetic field. But more than that, our mental space is also being merged and connected. So we come in resonance in more ways than one. We are coming in resonance by vibrational frequency, which is informed by our emotions, by all our thoughts, programs, fears, joys, all of those things that make up who we are. All of our basic ideas of our existence are all encoded and are being informed by everything that is within the system. Each one of these chakra systems are a vortex of information, but also it is the source code that is projecting what you are expressing from the external into this multidimensional realm. So what I look like, what I am, how I speak, my mindset, my emotions, everything that I am up until this point is an expression directly of everything that I have been, I have experienced, and it's not just limited to this lifetime. It's also interconnected and being informed by my ancestral lineage, or my family, father and mother lineage, their experiences, because as I mentioned in previous videos, we are interconnecting and we are coming in, as we incarnate into the physical plane, into family lineages that we are in resonance with, which means that myself as an individual organism, I am in deep resonance with all the individual organisms that make up my entire family lineage, my friend circle, and all those people that I am reflecting similar energy with. Okay, if you resonate with someone, you are reflecting similar energy, similar thought forms back at each other. And so, what we are doing in a sense is we are an interconnected network of consciousness. This consciousness is basically the fabric of creation, it's the fabric of life, it's the fabric of what makes up everything that we are experiencing. And every single one of you is actually the 0 point of that creation. And what that means, and we're going to learn about that in the retreat in a couple weeks at the 0 point retreat, the way that the universe is structured in a system in which we are moving through scales of dimensions. And as the universe is swirling and spiraling through its what we think is ascension, it's just a natural progression of evolution that is a part of an inherent design of all organisms. In this current dimensional timeline, we are in the 3D fourth dimension, where everything is this third dimensional plane. And we abide by the rules that we have set in this space, which we know as our science, as our physics, as our mathematics, which explain how the physics function in this current timeline. We are shifting, in a sense, our awareness into a higher vibrational frequency collectively. And this is something that's a natural progression. We've been going through these cycles of evolution for centuries since the origin of life in this entire universe. And it plays a role in how all living organisms individually experience their lives that they have selected. Through our lives that we select at this current timeline, it's an opportunity for us to experience something. We choose what we're experiencing based on what's best for the collective. So, in this current timeline, as we incarnate into the body, consciousness becomes aware, this human body comes alive. And so, a projection of a body, of a history, is connected with DNA lineage that we're connecting to, but it's also everything that we've been previously, we have access to. And when I say the word previously, I'm saying before what you can remember at this current time. In fact, all of the things that you are occurring simultaneously. You have other lifetimes which you may have experienced ancient Rome. Some of you tap into some of your extraterrestrial aspects of yourself. Star seeds is our ability to connect to our extraterrestrial aspects. And all of those things are available to us in our multidimensional expression. Okay? Our multidimensional expression really looks more like this giant orb of systems. And every one of these points that are a part of this like web, whatever is aware that it's experiencing is what's experiencing the now, the here and now. So it could be that you are astral traveling and that is the experience that's aware. So that's where your consciousness is. If this is the moment where you are aware, this is where your consciousness is. And how that plays an incredibly important role is that it's what feeds into the creative mechanism of this holographic system that we partake in. The chakra systems are not just an individual isolated organism. In fact, they are your environment. It's through the chakra system that we are receiving and giving the signals with the environment in order to create. Therefore, whatever is going on in the chakra system is what's going to project your experiences. If your thoughts are in a constant state of fear and anxiety and insecurity, this is what will make up the majority, the weight of the vibrational frequency that is being projected into what you're experiencing. Okay, and so this is where it's not that it's necessary for you to only be in a high vibration, because that's impossible. You cannot always be in a high vibration. It's necessary for the natural expression of an evolutionary process of any organism. It's actually that contrast that allows us to evolve, to progress, to experience. Without that contrast, we would be stagnant. And so eventually, if it's always in that same space, it would just dissolve itself, because it's, again, the whole purpose of all of these dimensional timelines is that it's a fragmentation of a whole, which is what we're experiencing. Become aware of ourselves as individual from a whole through this human experience, and it's through this human experience that we must then return as a cyclical pattern from the fragmentation of separation back into that whole. And so our current timelines, our life experiences, all of the contrast that we experience, pain and suffering, is for that purpose. The purpose is that we experience all of these things in order to find the whole through those experiences. And the journey of that might be extremely different from one person to the next, and that's the beauty of this expression of consciousness that we call Earth, the world, the universe, that we're kind of co-creating here. The mechanism of co-creation depends on the information that is being fed from your system. And your system is a holographic projection from the source. The source is the all, the origin, the one of all things, which we are a part of. When we embody the soul, when the soul comes in to the physical body as a projection, this infinite possibilities that is a part of that infinite consciousness that is source has to organize itself into the body, because it cannot just incorporate that infinite consciousness, because again it defeats the purpose of the function of this consciousness in this physical shell to experience contrast. It can only experience contrast a certain amount at a time. This is a physical limitation, biological limitation. It's a limitation of the structure of reality within this holographic expression. So we have to understand that we have the ability of unlocking aspects of ourselves. And what I mean by unlocking is becoming aware of this infinite possibilities that is literally encoded within our expression. The human body begins to activate those parts of our awareness through introspection, through silence, through reconnection. Because what happens is when we come into the body, we come into a storyline of a reality, which are created by a system. It's a system of reality that's carefully created in order to, first of all, numb your awareness that you are multidimensional and refocus your attention on external experience, which is what we're here to do. All of these storylines that make up your family, then in your society, your culture, your race, playing out this role of a human that we're given, right? And I say given because we have a common structure of reality that has been very, very carefully designed since the origin of life on this planet. And if we look at the history of our evolution, we begin to notice that a lot of times in our history, as far as what we know it, has been implemented many kind of belief systems that cause control over how this expression becomes aware of itself. Religion is implemented to create deities and belief systems that there is a power and control and a hierarchy of consciousness away from the physical body. It's an expression of separation, and we see that in so many different things in our society. It pulls us away from the natural understanding that we are one. We are one. We are always one. We will always be one. And it really isn't until we become closer to nature, to the laws of nature, to the laws of creation, that we begin to notice that the actual laws of creation of this universe are based on the laws of that one, of that unity. And from that unity, it is the feminine and masculine that comes together to create that energy. And we see that in nature. We see that in our biology. We see that in the energy of the universe and its ability to create. And we see that in how we also are manifesting our experiences. The duality that we experience as feminine and masculine in the universe is not just about sex or creating life. It's about the energy. It's life force energy And what that means is that that creative life force energy is what projects into this holographic system of creation. And so all of that depends on our balance of these two dualities within us and without us. Because again, the outside is a projection of what's in. The chakra system is actually an intermeshed system with the environment. The root chakra is connected to the specific organs in the body that run the systems. All the chakras are connected to the endocrine system, but they are interconnected specifically with certain organs that help manage the functions of those systems. The organs are not just systems of keeping balance in the body. They are electrical systems, energetic chemical systems that really either enhance the well-being of the physical body, or when they are not used properly, create destructive cycles in the human body and the longevity of this organism that we call the human body. And so depending on how we function and how we connect with the information that's running through those vortices of information, which are the chakras, we can either create health and vitality in the body, or we can destruct the body. And what that looks like for a human is basically illness, sickness, stagnation, pain, and suffering. Okay, so that's how we experience duality in this experience. It's either life or death. And what we do in our experiences is we're constantly choosing between those two. We choose between those two. It's either life or death. It's either love or fear. These two dualities that we see on its, its infinite possibilities within these dualities that we're expressing in this co-creation that we call Earth. So how this system, how the matrix, uses this information, it expresses that separation, it allows, in order for you to experience that separation. Okay, so the first three chakras manage the physical systems of the body. You create separation by making an organism feel isolated, separate, and by distracting it with experiences in the physical body, sexual pleasures or foods, tastes, emotions, those things. You're going to be constantly experiencing the contrast that allows you to feel either pleasure or suffering. So we are constantly moving through all these different kinds of emotions. And the emotions are the tools to help us understand what we're experiencing at any given time. So what that means is that if we are experiencing more suffering in our life, for example, if we're in a lot of pain, if we're always feeling isolated, depressed, stuck, like we can't move forward, then there are inherent belief systems that are out of balance, because you're only looking at things from one perspective, and that is untrue, because we are infinite possibilities at all times. So your ability to come back to that 0 point, which means that you have an ability of looking at all of those possibilities without judgment of those possibilities. So the root is connected with the primary emotion, and that is, when it's in the lowest point, is fear. And the root represents your grounding. It represents feeling safe, being at home, either within your body or in your environment. So think about that. That is one of the fundamental aspects of a human. In order for a human to feel like it can flourish and explore and, come into this human experience, it has to be able to feel safe, first in the body and then out in the world, in this holographic experience that it's then creating. But a lot of us that are coming from higher dimensional planes, which means that our awareness has most recently been in a higher dimensional timeline, has come back into this physical body to experience. Its awareness is now in this body, this Geraldine moment. You're in your moment. So you come into this physical body to experience that. So a lot of times we have a hard time integrating and those other possibilities. So the parts of us that are high vibration, the parts of us that are low, we have a very hard time. And because we are so sensitive, perhaps empathic, we have psychic abilities, all of these activated parts of us in the physical body feel extremely overwhelming. So the human feels an overload of emotions. It feels an overload of conflicting thoughts between infinite possibility expression and the expression of control and many different belief systems that we've had that are incredibly inverted. And we know that because we can feel that in the physical body. We feel resistance to things that cause suffering towards others. We feel resistance when there is control. There's resistance when there is deception. So we have this system is an intelligence that knows whether something is creative and self-sustaining and life-promoting. And it has an intelligence that knows when something is destructive, hurtful, not just for yourself, but the whole. So that's our intuition plays a huge role in that. Everybody has it. It's a natural expression of what you are, because the intelligence of an organism, in order to survive in this environment, always will know what's best for the whole. The problem is that our analytical mind interferes in that natural expression. It wants to interfere, and we are manipulated by our emotions, such as fear, the idea that because we're made to believe that we're separate, it causes distraction and distortion in how we see things. So the idea is to come back to that silent point, which is that 0 point again of non-judgment, in which you have the ability of silently looking at all of those parts. There's no right or wrong to how you experience life. The idea is that you are constantly connected to this system, this incredibly intelligent organism of your human body, so that you can listen to the intuitive dialogue that is coming in to tell you what's best for your body and how to move, how to navigate this holographic expression from that point of perspective. So the idea that our chakra system, the second chakra, manages creative life force energy, sexual energy. Okay, for the men, the root chakra manages the testicles. For the woman, the second chakra manages the ovaries and this sexual creative life force energy. So this is also another point of tremendous inversion of information. And in our society, since the origin of time, since the inception of religions and the manipulation of shame and guilt thought, sexuality has become something that, in a sense, has been weaponized and used to manipulate in an incredible way the way that we feel about ourselves, the way that we see others, the way that we create, the way that we destruct. And it's one of the most powerful creative life forces, which also means it's one of the most powerful destructive life forces. And it's one of the keys of creating fragmentation in the human soul, which is why sexual energy is either used for incredibly powerful magic. It can also be used for extremely dark magic. And it is the same vibrational energy, that creation, that exchange energy, that we assimilate with money, or the idea of money or exchange, which is why a lot of dark magic is utilized in some of these darker groups in our reality, in the Matrix. So that being said, our third aspect of ourselves is the solar plexus, which is our emotional center. And of course, since we are learning about our emotions through our first immediate pillars of reality, which are our father and mother, they are the first expression of the feminine and masculine that we see and that we mirror throughout our lifetimes. This is how we learn emotions. And of course, as humans, all of us are in a journey of that 0 point, of that self-discovery, of coming back to that one. So we're navigating all of these emotions throughout our life without really a real reference point until we take a moment to meet and understand those emotions truly for what they are. When we take that time to understand the emotions, that's when we can truly begin to manage this system and how we're co-creating in reality. So these three systems are safety and how we feel in our environment. This our root chakra, our grounding, our sacral chakra, the sexual energy, our exchange energy, creative life force energy, and our solar plexus, which is the emotional body. Okay, it's also whether we feel powerful or powerless. It's also where we house anger and frustration and the suppression of that anger. Those are the first three chakras of our body. And because these are dimensions of creation that are projecting into our reality what we're experiencing, they are the most important instruments of creation and healing within this multidimensional body that we have. We have undergone a lot of inversion of truth in order to create control in our society. And if we understand how that functions, we also understand that we're easily manipulated by fear, by sex, and by our emotions. And we're manipulated by them by the things that we are intaking into the system, things that we watch on television, things that we're told, things that we feel. And because we lack an understanding, a thorough understanding of our own emotions and why we have those emotions, we are becoming puppets to any kind of influences and string pulling that there could be. So this is where our human race goes into a complete disconnect from themselves and everything around us, and we end up becoming a product of deception, a product of great manipulation, mind control, all these things. However, the human has 100% ability to choose not to engage in that. And it does so by becoming aware of these systems and how it works, how you create. We create the experiences that we're going to have based on the belief systems that we have within the body. So if our belief system is that we are a victim of that control system, or continue following narratives that pull us away from our connection to our true self and to our understanding of how this body functions, then in a way, we are choosing to experience this road, which is one of a million possibilities. But I'm here to remind you that you also have a million infinite possibilities other than that from which to choose from. And the only time we're going to know that is if we sit down and do the work. And through experience of healing this multidimensional body and adjusting the inverted belief systems that we have into creative belief systems that are healing, that create vitality, well-being, not just for yourself, but others. This is how we can create abundance and healing for yourself and the human race. And we are so enmeshed and interconnected to one another. We are a creative holographic system. So everything that you believe, everything that you're experiencing is what you're projecting into your reality. If you believe that you are unworthy, if you believe that you're not good enough, if you believe that you're helpless, this is what is calling the experiences in your life. This is what you're projecting. You are projecting that. So in meditation, in order to heal and reset all of these inversions and misconceptions, untruths into more or destructive belief systems into creative belief systems, you have to fact check yourself. And we do that in meditation by resetting the information that we have. Because we are enmeshed with our environment, it's actually, the chakra system is actually our environment. Okay? So the health of your chakras will dictate the health of your environment. That's people, places, and things. If there's a lot of dirt and gunkiness, which means programs, false belief systems, inversions of truths, deceptions, dishonesties, even with your own self, fears of seeing truths of your own self. This is what the program is running and how you're holographically projecting into your reality. So it's needless to say that when we begin to adjust those belief systems in more constructive belief systems, you begin to experience that in your life. So along with that, another layer of this intermeshed interconnection is that what we are co-creating and projecting, we're creating energetic connections to. So we have cords that connect to our families, with everything we are interconnected with, and we look like a giant orb of interconnections, which are moving in and out of dimensional timelines, in and out of our relationship connections, throwing information back and forth. We have the ability of tapping into aspects of ourselves that are not in this current timeline, which can promote healing, for example. Or we also have access to promoting to negative aspects of ourselves, old cyclical ancestral programs that we've been cycling through. We have the ability of tapping into those and bringing them into the now, and sometimes in this current timeline experiencing terrible things that we don't even know why we're experiencing. Sometimes the root of those programs are in other aspects of ourselves that we tap into. So in order to reset all of these systems, we have to come back to that 0 point. The 0 point is the state of non-judgment. It's that 0 point of all of these dimensional planes, which includes all of them. If you are at a 3 point in this dimensional timeline, you're only seeing things from that perspective, but you don't have access to the information on the other end. It's the same if you move anywhere else on this graph. And the graph is your physical body, as it is a fractal of the world, as it is a fractal of the universe, as it is a fractal infinitely of all other organisms that we are moving through as this organism of experience. And we feed that information to one another. We are interconnected. All of us are one organism experiencing this duality in this current timeline. And don't forget, there's other parts of you that are experiencing other things as well. So when we go into meditation and we close these chakras, what the idea is to learn to control the information that's here. And it's not so much about controlling as it is about becoming aware of the information that's there. The problem is that we're so deeply programmed to have the monkey mind running our experiences that we want to try to analyze and put meaning and judge what we're experiencing based on our current beliefs. And the current beliefs are the problem, because some of those beliefs are not based on truths that are more productive and more creative for this organism. If they were, we would be in the highest level of all possibility. Okay? We shift those perceptions. By closing the chakras, we are resetting the information that we're feeding back and forth from all of these dimensional timelines and from our connections to other aspects of ourselves, mirrored in our family, mirrored in ourselves, mirrored in different timelines. Through meditation, to master these first 3 chakras, because they are what link you to this 3/4 dimensional plane. It's not going to do much if you are someone that comes from a higher dimension and you're in starseed and you're up here in your upper bodies all the time. It's not going to help you. You're neglecting everything that's happening here. And because this organism is such an incredible system of creation, wherever there is a lack of awareness, because every single cell in your body is creating, not just one part, your entire system is a system of creation. So you can't ignore your feet or your back, for example. But a lot of us do. We forget about our awareness. Our awareness has to be 360 degrees total awareness of our entire body, which means total awareness of all things that are experiencing around us and through us. The body, when we are not aware of ourselves, becomes a host. And so other organisms that are experiencing things that have come into a parasitic exchange with things, which means that it looks outside of itself to experience, can come and attach to you because you're wide open. And we do the same. We become that way. When we reject our own consciousness and when we're not aware of ourselves as this whole organism interconnected with everything, we're denying parts of ourselves. We are becoming unaware of those parts. And so those parts now, it's like they sleep, they go to sleep, they become dormant. And that dormant, because there's not awareness, becomes open to any kind of entities or attachments in that space. So your organism can take all of that on, and that's why total body awareness at all times is incredibly important. It's a matter of healing, it's a matter of creation, it's a matter of your highest expression. And it's a matter of total evolution. When we close the first three chakras, what becomes activated is the other chakras, right? Because your energy can never be eliminated. It's only reallocated. So what happens is that we bring focus to the higher levels of the body, which are simply the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown chakra. And these parts of our body are, just as we're intermeshed in the lower systems with the planet Earth, we're intermeshed in other dimensional timelines, higher dimensional, the astral level of our body, the spirit body, the energetic body. And this is where we tap into other parts of us, the Akashic records, which is the record system, or the DNA of the Earth, for example. So we have access to all that information through the higher chakras. So how to tap into those is by beginning to train yourself to clear out all of the programs that we have enmeshed in the first three chakras. The first three chakras are holding on to the records of, and very, very heavily interconnected with the Akashic records, because all of the experiences that you've had in this and all other timelines are recorded in the Akash and fed into the body in through this system. Okay, it's all interconnected, one organism. By shifting the unnecessary programs that continue to cause us suffering, you shift the resonance that you're expressing in your body as a whole organism, and you have the ability of embodying wellness, vitality. That being said, it's one of the most important parts of activating your intuition. And because we are evolving collectively as a human race, we are, and we will in the future years that are to come, activating new parts of the body, the technology of the body that is necessary in order to move along with the natural evolutions of, as we move through multiple dimensions, as we shift through multiple dimensions of consciousness collectively. So the activation of your DNA is imperative to sustaining this organism as it moves through these multiple dimensions. It has to do with your health, has to do with your emotions, your physical body. It has to do with your mind, with your energetic body, and with all the other fragments of yourself that are interconnected to this one matrix, this one holographic projection that we're co-creating from what we are. So in meditation, it's important to close them so that you can begin to work with that, so that you're not constantly pulling old programs back. You're not focusing on pain programs that you have, I don't know, with a family member, for example, and your meditation, becomes interrupted because you're firing constantly this information back and forth. And of course, the monkey mind wants to interfere. And so since we don't have enough practice over our emotions, it's what ends up speaking out in meditation more and more and more. So in healing, I always advise that you start meditation, if you're new to meditation, with Vipassana, to begin learning to still the body, really creating a discipline of stillness in the body, which we're not used to because we were programmed having lights flashing and patterns of energy flashing, flickering, moving our attention away. We deal with a lot of ADHD in our society, and it's a direct product of that kind of conditioning. Okay, we have just incredible overloads of information. It's also a natural part of our evolution, but it's in some ways also used to pull us away from our attention inwardly and distracted. If you continue to keep stuff coming from the outside world, we can't focus on the internal. So we have to disconnect from all of that in order to still the body. And this kind of discipline in the body are things that great gurus utilized, people that really dominate their body, people that practice breathing and controlled breathing know how to create balance in the body. All of that is used with control and awareness of total body. So that is what ultimately we want to achieve. And Vipassana is a great way to get started. But when you're going into more advanced meditation, because Vipassana will help manage the physical body, and then you go into the energetic body and then the multidimensional body, which opens up as you meditate, you need to learn how to manage what opens up in that multidimensional aspect of yourself. And what opens up is all of these things that you will find, the multidimensional parts of you, cords, connections, contracts, all of the information that we're throwing back and forth between ourselves, our environment, everything that we're co-creating through our programming is what we're experiencing. And if we find ourselves in a lot of blocks, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, it means that we need to clear out some of those old programs that are not vital to the health and well-being of this whole organism. Closing them is excellent for learning to activate your heart, your throat, and your third eye, which are the foundation for your intuition, how you activate your intuitive self. We activate the intuitive self by the engines of intuition, which is the heart, and this is a gigantic electromagnetic field that is creating a resonance frequency. It's an antenna of resonance that emits from your whole. It's what communicates with all parts of the physical body. But in addition to that, this is what attracts or rejects things in our life. And it's being informed by all other systems in the body. Okay, so whatever is wide open and functioning out of control in your body, that's what's projecting and creating. So if you're in a constant state of fear, your root chakra is going to be wide open, totally out of whack, moving in an imbalanced manner. That's what's creating. If you're in a state of anger, you're creating from there. So on and so forth. So the heart, the throat, and the third eye are the integration of the higher self into the physical. And so we want to begin to activate those. We want to clear them because it's through this higher perspective that we can begin to even experience, perhaps for the first time, some of us, kindness, love, compassion. We only have the ability to tap into those if we tap into the energy of love. And this is the resource of that love, that creative life force, not romantic love, the creative life force that we need in the body in order to manifest that. So clearing the first three chakras daily as an energetic hygiene, as a practice of hygiene, which means just like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, it's incredibly important to creating health in your energetic body. And because you're so heavily enmeshed, and you are an expression of energy, you're an organism of creation, this should be the first place that we go to for our health. And from there, begin to correct all of the other things. For example, our eating habits, what we're eating, how we're feeling, our emotions, all of these things are completely interconnected to the well-being of this whole organism. Again, you're multidimensional. It's not just one organism that's running the show. So if you're only focusing on one part of yourself and your healing, if you're not seeing results, that's why. When you're meditating and you've activated the higher aspects of yourself, you're also shifting immediately your vibrational frequency, because now it's not being informed from here directly, or it's not out of control, which usually most of us are. We've closed them, so we open the heart, the throat, and so now you're up here. So your vibrational frequency immediately changes. You go from dim to beginning to be bright, and what you look like is a martini glass. Your body looks like a martini glass, so you're activating the higher aspects. So what that will also cause, since we are in a multidimensional body, an interdimensional reality, is that we will attract like energy. if we don't know how to work with this multidimensional body, and if you don't have total awareness of your body when you're in a state of a martini glass, okay, your I call it reading state, we haven't trained our intuition, so we're not aware of the things that come in and go from our energetic body. So this is the training into that next level of a human, the human that is aware of the multidimensional aspect of this non-physical parts of us, like cords, attachments, that tend to come in when we change our vibrational frequency, because your light has just expanded. It's become greater, bigger. So it's this wonderful essence of life force that unfortunately other beings, even family members, friends, or partners, because they haven't found their own light, they don't believe in that own light, they reject their own consciousness, they come in and they feed from your light. And what I mean by light is everything. It can be your emotions, it can be your fears, it can be whatever it is that you are expressing. They can feed off or try to manipulate or trigger those parts, because they would feed off of that exchange, because then they are recognized in that pain, in that same energy that they only know. They only know suffering, they only know lack, they only know that they are not worthy. And so this is what that resonance gives them, belief, gives them sustenance in that existence. Talking about just regular everyday experiences, you know, with your partner, with your children, things that people say, things that people do, cause triggers in us. At all times, we are receptors of experience, of perceptions. So if we're not aware of what we're receiving and what we're giving, the body is in a constant dance of either depletion or it's taking on things that it shouldn't. And both of those things are depleting. The only thing that's life force and creating is the balance and total awareness, so that you can then choose, even though you have these things coming, you choose, you look at them, you understand so deeply how to engage with them. And if it's not something that's in alignment with you and what's necessary for the total growth of yourself in all things, we choose something different, or we shift, we change that. And this is where we become healers. This is where you become an enlightened life force, a pillar of light that becomes an example of unconditional love, of creative life force energy for all things outside of you. You now have tapped into that wisdom because you come from a place of non-judgment. You come from a place of complete introspection and understanding of your own emotions. So now you can understand and recognize yourself in others, which is all we do. This is all we ever do. We recognize ourselves in others. And oftentimes the things that trigger us and cause us pain are the things that we recognize that we actually reject deeply about ourselves. And so this is how we are mirrors of all things outside of us. Of course, because we're creating it. That's what we are. We are creative engines of everything we are experiencing. At the end of your meditation, be sure to always open up your chakras again, because you don't want to be out in the world in a constant state of reading. Not only is this an intrusion, it's not following the laws of free will. You cannot tap into anyone's energy without their permission. Okay? Very, very adamant about this. You cannot tap into other people's energy without their permission. You can't give them free psychic advice whenever you feel like it. That's not the way it works. You have to respect the laws that are here in order to protect ourselves and protect others, because you are imposing on other people's free will to choose their experience. And we have to be very careful with that, because every word, every intention, a lot of times psychics give their advice, they give all this information. And if you understand deeply, why you give information, a lot of times it's for yourself, for your own self-recognition, for your own self-acknowledgement, validation, because everything that we experience is only coming from our perspective. And even though we're feeling that oneness more now than ever, which means that more of us are picking up telepathically one another, one of us are picking up this interconnected experiences, and we are definitely all moving through certain energies at any given times. So we will be confirmed. You know, your psychic messages will probably be confirmed if you're tapped in to yourself. You will receive messages that are resonating with others. But that just speaks to the fact that we all have that ability. We all have the ability of tapping in. And the thing is that all of us have to promote that we all learn how to be psychics, because that's a part of ourselves. We have to tap into that intuition, to that inner knowing, so that we don't have to reach outside of ourselves for the message through someone else's filter, through someone else's perspective. You have to be your own guidance system. And I'm a tremendously big advocate on this, because that is where the empowerment of the 99% lies. If everyone is depending on someone else to give them valuable information, how will we ever move through this as empowered collective souls? It's more than just a matter of your individual experience. You got to understand that you are an engine of creation that's interconnected with all things. So when you do that, the part of you that is not aware is the part of the whole organism that's not aware, because your body is a reflection of the whole human race. It's the same in our nucleus. Every person has a certain piece to a whole puzzle, and so your valuable spiritual experience is incredibly important to the whole. It's very important that we train ourselves to activate this part of ourselves constantly, daily, momentarily, as we come into our power. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope that it answered the questions of why we close the first 3 chakras in meditation, why we have to open them before we leave our meditation. If you guys want to join the 0 Point Retreat that's coming up in a couple weeks, please RSVP. The link is down below. And DNA Reprogramming with me or hypnotherapy, do reach out to me. My focus is holographic healing of the multidimensional body, and I am here to serve.